you going, guys? Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the fourth episode of the Bloody Oath podcast. On today's episode, I interview Sam Dutney and we talk about coaching in Warhammer 40k and various methods that a player can adopt to improve their overall tournament results and their playability and their skills in the game. Sam is a veteran coach. He's been involved in the Australian and Victorian rowing community for a long time. He's very well versed in various sports and the way that people use coaching to improve their game. So we have a really good discussion about how you can apply those same principles and same processes to your 40k skill set and how you can use various training practices to develop those skills further. It's an absolute ripper of a conversation. I really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys enjoy it too.
Blog for the Blood God presents the BloodyOath podcast.
Thank you for coming on to, I think this is the fourth episode of the BloodyOath podcast. When I actually started this podcast, you were one of the first people that I was like, I have to get Sam on. I have to get Sam because I know that you've got a unique perspective in the way that you're relatively new to the scene, so you're approaching it with a fresh set of eyes, and then attach that to your personal life and your professional life and all that sort of stuff as well. I think you've got a really unique perspective that meshes well with what this podcast is about.
Sure.
So probably the best place to start is just tell us a bit about your past, your history, who you are, sort of introductory style.
Sure. So my name's Sam. I got into 40k about 2.5 years ago, late 2018, through playing the Dawn of War video games.
Fuck yeah.
And then being like, I might check out what this actually is, where it comes from, and then Googling and sort of going from there and getting involved in, I'll get a couple of models, and then from sort of getting started in it from there and going to an event, which was, I think at that point I'd played 2 games, and I was like, I'll go to an event because apparently they play 5 games in 2 days, so what a great way to actually get a couple of games in.
Yeah, that's a good attitude.
And actually went pretty well. I think I went 4-1, and it wasn't a big event or anything like that, but it was a good way to kind of get started. So that was how I got involved in 40k, and after that first event, I was just, like most people who go to an event, I was just addicted after that.
Yeah.
Like, need to go to
It really is like a drug, isn't it?
It's so good. And
it's like the first time you get drunk as a kid, and you're just like, why am I ever sober? Like, what the fuck? Why bother?
This is the best thing.
This is
ever.
like where it's at.
But before that's my background. I was a rower when I was at school. I was fortunate enough to win a couple of national championships as a rower, and then continued rowing after school. I represented my state, which was Queensland at the time, and then I got into coaching, and I've been coaching for since 2008, so the last 12 years. I've coached high performance athletes, so people who've represented the state, people who've represented Australia, and won national championships, and now I'm the head coach of a school program. I've been doing that for about the last 8 years, is running school programs. So I see with me getting involved in 40k in the first place, I can see a lot of, I guess a lot of the things that I went through were very similar to the things that I observed my new rowers coming through a school program experiencing for the first time. And there's a few things, obviously, as an adult, I can be a little bit more self-aware than a fucking 13-year-old.
Yeah.
But you still recognize, I was able to recognize going through a lot of the same stages of kind of finding out about it, and then getting more involved in it, and then getting more refined at it, and that kind of thing. And so I like to think that by seeing all the things that they do year in, year out and do wrong, that gives me a good opportunity to kind of try and learn from those mistakes. And in my own 40k learning experiences, try and do that a little bit better or a little bit more consistently.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the philosophies behind this podcast, is trying to communicate to people that 40k isn't unique.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else.
Yeah.
If you want to learn something, the same processes that you would go through to develop any other skill, if you apply those same processes to 40k, you'll get the same
100%
rewards and the same progression. And even things like, people think, if you want to get better at basketball, you need a coach, right?
Yeah.
You need to join a team with good players, supportive players that are going to help you out. They're going to teach you tricks, and then you need a coach who's experienced and those sorts of things, who's a veteran of sorts, who can observe you and give you feedback and whatever, like that's perfectly acceptable in basketball. But for some reason, when people think 40K, like if you say I have a 40K coach, it's like sort of frowned on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like
you sort of feel awkward. It's like, oh, you know, you're almost taking it too seriously. But you're right. It's the same as learning any skill.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
you're not going to just grab the piano and just be like, oh fuck it, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like having a piano teacher is good. Or even little things like, you know, watching YouTube tutorials and stuff like that. These are all different tools that we have that help us learn things. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to get you on, because I was like, with fucking 12 years of coaching, like specific and very niche things like rowing, like it's not a widely, you know, engaged practice.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, most of the kids that we have start with us have never done it before ever.
Yeah.
So they are actually brand new, and in a school program, you might have them for 4 years, 5 years, depending on which state you're in or whatever, and when they actually start. You might have maximum of 5 years with an individual, which is obviously a long time. But I think for a lot of people in 40K, especially in playing, I'd say very few people have more playing experience where they're doing it properly than 5 years.
Oh, absolutely. And like one of the things, like I've recently taken up archery, right?
Yep.
And unfortunately, due to COVID, all of the ranges have closed down and all that sort of stuff. They're probably opening back up now, so I might look into it again. But one of the things that I learned with just my research into that was that when you're trying to get better at it, just practicing it isn't enough.
Yep.
You actually need to train.
Yep.
So I know so many people out there that practice 40K by playing games over and over and over, but they don't really train the fundamental skills.
Yep.
So like with archery, you've got to practice by shooting a lot of arrows, but you also need to do flexibility training, core training, focus training, all of these sorts of things to help refine those, I guess, attributes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you can then apply to the game. And I think that 40K is definitely the same thing. You need to work on just memory games. Download a fucking app on your phone that is a memory trainer. It could be like just fucking flipping cards and making pairs,
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. But if you're training your memory, then when it comes time for the game, you've actually got a skilled muscle.
A great example of that is any sport, and rowing's no different to any others, but in any sport, when you train, you do drills.
Yeah.
You do specific exercise. In basketball, you might practice, free throws.
Yeah.
In football, you might practice passing exercises, or you might practice tackling, or whatever it is. The whole idea is that you train components of the sport,
yes,
and then you put them together on game day,
yes,
or in competition. And in exactly the same way, I think with 40K, it's playing it doesn't mean you're necessarily practicing certain things. You might play a game a week.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's pretty good for most people. Particularly, I know for me, if I get a game a week, I feel like I've done pretty well because I've got a busy life. There's other things going on. But if all you do is play one game a week, you only practice one deployment phase.
Yeah.
Maybe depending on how long the game goes for, and a lot of casual games, if you're only playing once a week, people might call it after 3 turns and be like, you've won or you've lost.
Yeah.
So you've maybe practiced one deployment phase, you've practiced
a couple shooting phases,
couple of movement phases, couple of charge phases. Most of this probably not a charge phase in the first turn, so maybe there's been 1-2 charge phases. And 40K is actually quite broken down into components for us. Like it's actually quite structured in that way. But if you just play a game a week, you only means once a week you've practiced one skill.
Yeah.
Or maybe in a shooting phase, maybe 3 times in a whole week you've practiced a specific skill. Whereas if you were playing basketball and you went to training once a week, you might spend 20 minutes practicing free throws, and then you might do 20 minutes practicing passing down the channel or something like that.
And then there's certain things that you can practice, like using the basketball example, while you're on the court, you can practice your free throws and all that sort of stuff. But then, like on a Wednesday night when you don't have access to the court, well, you can practice your cardio.
You can go for a run, you can do all these things to work on specific components. But I think in 40K, and partly it probably comes down to the same kind of mentality around, where having a coach is sort of seen as a bit of a negative thing. Thinking about things outside of the game or training specific components, people probably, I think, feel a little bit funny about doing that.
Yeah.
But there's one specific element where people don't feel funny about it, but it's just the same as everything else, and that's list building.
Yeah.
People do fucking lists when they're on the toilet at work.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think I've ever written a list when I wasn't on the toilet at work.
Exactly. But there's no reason that's one component of the game, and if it's fine to work on one component of the game, it's like anything else.
Yeah, there's
it's
a bit of
fine
a
to
stigma
work on
that needs
other.
to be broken.
Exactly.
And the other thing is and obviously not everybody's going to have the ability to do this, but having a coach, even just having a friend that's able to watch your games, somebody who you look up to and you think is getting good results, they might say to you, I saw your game and you deployed like an idiot.
Yeah.
You lost that game because of the way you deployed. You need to work on your deployment. You need to work on screening. I remember some of the early games I had with Gus.
Yep.
I was running the Raven Guard.
Yep.
You know, double scent bomb. I had a Vanguard unit that I would slingshot up. You played the list before.
Yeah.
And Gus came over for practice games, and he deployed his army, and then I was just like, okay, I win. Deploy again. Like, we didn't even really play it. And so I played that first turn. I was just like, I go first. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump over here. Then I'm going to spend CP to jump over you. Then I'm going to charge in here, kill you for like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you failed to screen out that area? That hasn't like guaranteed me the win, but it's given me a massive and unnecessary advantage.
Yes.
So in the spirit of training, not just practicing, I was like, okay, well, we're going to train you to be able to screen out better. We're going to train your deployment. So let's just rack it up again. And then he racked it up again, and I was like, okay, well, you've lost again, because now, because of the way you've tried to fix this hole, you've created a hole over here.
And that's a
so
great...
we just did it over and over and over, to the point where now he is one of the best at screening.
And I agree. I haven't played Gus with my Blood Angels, and in the end of 8th, you had obviously the Death Company.
Yeah.
I don't think of any of the people that we play with regularly, or even, you know, I got to go to a tournament at late 8th with him. There was no one else who's as good at screening things out as Gus. And it's probably because, you know, you've used that example there of training, and I think that's actually a really, really good example of training versus just playing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're talking about re-racking it, and it's the same, like, use another sporting example would be like football. You know, if you know, it's like, soccer in that. But, you know, you might do a certain exercise with the attackers moving in on goal and making certain passing plays to create an opportunity, and you get past the defense and you score. Well, that's not it. That's not cool. That's the game. That's the session done. It's, as you said, re-rack. Let's get everyone back to the original positions. Let's try it again. Okay, you were in the wrong position. You need to be aware of that on the next one. Let's try again.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a perfect analogy of how you can, of what you've just described there, and how you can do that same type of component training.
Yeah.
In another one that I do is I've quite a busy work schedule. I start at 6 a.m. with training most mornings and don't finish till 7 p.m. But what I do get is maybe an hour here or an hour and a half here during the day when I don't have coaching, I don't have admin, I don't have to be setting up equipment or anything like that. And something I can sometimes think about is, rather than just thinking about lists, is if I've got a list that I've worked on, is think about maybe a list that I might think I'm going to come up against, or maybe a common archetype or something that's done well in tournaments recently, and I can think about what my target priority would be.
Yeah.
You know, I'm imagining I'm in turn 1, and roughly how I imagine it would deploy. I might have seen a stream game or something like that, have a rough idea of how it's going to be set out. Okay, well, with my list, how would I play against that?
Yeah.
And even though I'm obviously not having the opportunity to play that game, it's a bit like going for a run. You know, it's something you're doing in your own time that doesn't necessarily require anyone else, but is still working on a specific plan.
And you're building that muscle as well, that part of your brain that's thinking about these sort of problem-solving elements.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things to note as well is that in order for a lot of these things to work, in order for this training and stuff to work, you need someone that you can bounce the ideas off. Because
you need feedback.
I think a lot of the time what happens is people will play a practice game or a tournament game or whatever, they'll lose, and then they'll incorrectly attribute their loss to something that was actually not that big of a deal.
Yep.
And then they'll fixate on that and they'll stress about that, and then they'll end up putting their attention in the wrong place. So that's why I think a lot of the time, talking to your opponent, being like, well, what do you think I did wrong? Because once they've won the game, they'll tell you what you did wrong.
Yeah. In fact, they're probably happy to because it often highlights their ability to have taken advantage of.
Yeah.
I think there's a psychological element there. You actually feel good about yourself in telling someone how you fucked them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because it shows that not only did you beat them, but you beat them because you recognised a failure. It wasn't just, you rolled hot or whatever it is.
So, yeah, I had a game with Stewie recently where at the event last weekend where he had his Grey Knights army and I beat him with Charybdis full of berserkers and stuff, right? And after the game, basically what happened is there was one big mistake where I had a Noise Marine unit in the center of the table. He moved some strikes out to create a screen so that my berserkers wouldn't get his valuable stuff.
Yep.
And then he killed my Noise Marines, and then they shoot when they die.
Right.
So I was able to shoot those units that he'd put forward as screens, which meant they weren't there, which meant my berserkers were able to drop and hit the valuable stuff, right? So he's like, oh, I lost because I forgot that those guys could shoot when they die, and therefore I didn't effectively screen you out. Problem is when you look at the score sheet, I got max primary the first 2 turns, I got 10 points of primary in the 3rd turn, and I was tabled by turn 5. Like all I had left was my drop pods.
Yeah.
But it was like, who gives a shit? I've got so many points you can't catch
You've
up.
already maxed the primary.
And I'm like, so Stewie, while that was a mistake, letting me kill your screens like that, that's not the mistake that cost you the game.
Yeah.
The mistake that cost you the game was focusing so hard on putting up and maintaining those screens and protecting all your valuable stuff that you just abandoned the objectives.
Yeah. I see that a lot from a coaching perspective with Rowan, with school kids, where they misidentify what was actually the reason. So one of the ones, an example, and this may or may not make sense to people, but in racing is obviously everyone starts at the same point, everyone finishes at the same point, same as any other racing sport, running, whatever. Rowing is a little bit, it's more of an endurance sport, so that there's a fitness element. There's also a psychological element in being out in front early.
Yeah. And
a lot of the time that's is seen as being really, really important. You're out in front, therefore you can see the opposition and it's more motivating and that kind of thing.
Because you're going backwards, aren't you?
Yeah, because you're facing the opposite direction.
So you could be like, as you're running.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't be able to see you, but you'd be giving yourself a boost for you. But like, what often happens is a crew might not have the best start. They might have 5 strokes. They don't get quite up as quick as everyone else, and they're a little bit behind. And school kids or young people or inexperienced people, to kind of draw back to 40K, if people aren't as experienced, will go after the race. If they don't come back to win it, they say, oh, well, we lost off the start.
Yeah.
Well, my response to that is if you were behind after 50 metres in a 2,000 metre race, there was 1,950 metres that you could make up the difference.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that what often happens in 40K is something specific happens like that, and people lose sight of the actual big picture.
Yeah.
In the rowing's context, you've actually got 1,950 metres to make up for the error.
Yeah.
In 40K, it's, I can let my strike squads get shot, so that's what I'm going to focus on, rather than the fact that, well, fuck, Dean scored, 25 points in the first 2 turns of primary scoring.
Yeah.
I've got to score some primary.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I mean? So I think it's really, and as what you said before, people don't necessarily think about 40K and how it applies in other things in the world, but these are the same concepts we see all over the place.
Yeah.
Whether it's in sport, whether it's in in economics, whether with people getting things like bull markets and bear markets and that stuff, people get freaked out by certain things. People losing sight of the big picture. And I think that's such an important thing that gets overlooked a lot of the time.
Absolutely. Which that actually sort of segues quite well into one of the topics that we had discussed we were going to try and cover on this episode, which was momentum. And so I'll give the basic run through of how I believe that this works, and then you can sort of share your opinion and perspective as well. So I believe that momentum is a fundamental law of reality. Right? And you can see this in so many different aspects. Like, for example, a planet. As a planet gets bigger, it gets more gravity, and therefore it attracts in more shit. And then that shit becomes part of the planet, which makes the planet bigger, which means it has more gravity, and it just exponentially fucking grows, right? Same for economics. The more money you have, the better your ability to invest that money and grow that money, and therefore the whole rich get richer, the poor stay poor thing, which is, it's just fucking true.
Yeah.
Right? It's unfortunate, but it's true. And there's countless examples of where momentum is a fundamental driving force of reality. And I think that this applies in 40K in a few different ways. I think it applies in the way that if you have a really good turn one, you're going to ride that momentum.
Yeah.
And you're just going to dominate the game, right? But the same goes for if you attend a tournament. Say it's a 200 player tournament, and you come 160th, and you're like, ugh, that was shit, right? But then the next tournament, you come 120th, right? You can be like, ooh, I got better, and that feeling of getting better makes you then go back to the drawing board and be like, all right, how can I get even better again? And you get that motivation, and then the next one you go 100th, and you're like, fuck yeah, but the problem is then when you start losing that momentum, you go, okay, I got 100th, and then the next one you go 99th, and then the next one you go 98th, and you see that slow down.
Mm-hmm.
So, first question, I guess, is do you agree? And second would be like, what sort of advice would you have for somebody who is experiencing that sort of stuff?
100, could not agree more. I think momentum is really, really powerful. To go back to, I suppose, to where the idea of momentum comes from, because it comes to us from, as I said, all different types of facets, but it's really a fundamental principle of the universe. The concept of momentum actually comes from physics.
Yeah.
And that's, I think the formula is, P equals mv or whatever. It's like momentum is equal to mass times velocity or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's basically, if you're trying to think about it from a day-to-day perspective, it's the idea that movement or like action creates momentum, and that the momentum then is able to continue creating action itself. So you've got your scenario there where you've gone 160th and then 120th and then 100th, and you've got like action forward. You've got you're acting, something happens, you act on it, it allows you to keep acting. I think where it's more applicable in day-to-day actually is in psychology, where momentum is probably, the way we think about it day to day and the way you think about it from a 40K perspective, I think actually has more in common with like classical conditioning, like Pavlov's dog and all that sort of stuff. Where when you get that 160th and then you go try again and you get 120th, you've made an action and it's been positively reinforced. So you want to keep doing that action. Yeah. And one of the things I talk about with school kids and rowing a lot of the time is that improvement is the biggest motivator. If you see that something is, that you're doing something and it's helping you to improve, then you're motivated to keep doing it. Yeah. And so when you start to hit that plateau point where you stop seeing that improvement, the way that I try and approach that when I'm coaching is to find new ways to show that improvement. Yeah. And I think that in 40K, that's where the component section of it can actually start to be really, really good. Yeah. You can, maybe you're in a really strong meta, to actually improve the next 10 places is going to be fucking hard because it's full of really good players.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things, like, you take the 200 player event, for example, like going from 200th to 150th is fucking easy. Because that bottom 50, the bottom 50 player pool is a lot easier to overcome than the top 50.
Absolutely.
So, and like, I found this personally, that like at a 200 player event, I'm very confident that I'll end in the top, say, 20 to 30.
Yeah.
But trying to push into that top 3 is so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Whereas,
and to keep positive momentum, you have to have something that is showing you that you're improving. Yeah. And if you can't have the placing because of how strong the environment is, then you have to have tangible things you can point to. And so that's where breaking it down into its components. So 40K is great. It's got so many phases. You can work on, and you can work on having specific goals around specific phases. So how you might want to have a certain thing you want to achieve in the deployment phase. Yeah. You might have a particular thing you're identifying as, okay, I keep having this problem in games where I'm not moving things properly, or I'm consistently, I have a model turned the wrong way and its sword sticks out and it keeps getting fucking targeted by shooting. So you can give yourself specific goals in those phases and measure your improvement against that.
I think a really good example of exactly that is, and this one will apply to almost everyone, is the shooting phase and target allocation. The amount of times that I see people will go, okay, I've got this big unit, I'm going to split fire into, those 3 units. And then they go, oh, how do I allocate the shots? I guess I put fucking 3 guys into that one and 2 guys into that one. And then it doesn't pay off. Like, that's something that you can immediately, whether you win or lose the game, you can immediately identify whether or not you did that optimally or suboptimally.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something that you can work on regardless of win or loss and get results.
And I think, like, in terms of improving, like, that specific example, I think one of the mistakes people often make, and it's not so much related to movement, but I think people often rely on averages a little bit too much.
Oh, absolutely.
And fail to recognize that if there's a 50% chance of X happening, because that's the average, there's a 50% chance it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's a coin flip that, if you've got exactly enough. And I think that, you can have, some people I know do the maths at the table. They'll pull out their phone and they'll work out the maths on, all right, how am I going to allocate it? That's, a lot of people don't want to do that or don't like to do that. But you can go back after the fact, in terms of reviewing a specific phase and how you performed in terms of trying to see improvement, and, maybe you allocated your shots and it didn't pan out.
Yeah.
You can go back and look at that afterwards, and you can do the maths later and go, okay, well, what was actually the chance that what I did was going to work? And you know what? Maybe if it was 80% chance that it should have worked, you go, all right, well, I just got unlucky. But it was probably still the right decision. I can reflect on it and go, it was still the right action, even though the result didn't give me what I wanted.
Yeah.
It was probably still the right call.
Yeah, well, I'm planning on doing a full, probably even 1 or 2 episodes on probability and math hammer.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the points where, like, the bottom 50 players, they don't even think about that shit.
Yeah.
They just go, I'm just going to shoot the things and do the stuff, right? And they're running their orcs with their fucking war trike bikers and all that retarded shit, and you're just like, okay, they're just here for fun. That's cool, right? But the people in that sort of mid bracket, almost all rely too heavily on the math hammer.
Yeah. And
the problem is that they understood what the statistics are, but they haven't understood how to use them.
Yeah.
So statistics is definitely something that I'll do. I'm going to do a couple episodes on, because there's so much to cover on that.
Yeah. So to draw that back to momentum, I think in terms of that improving, you can have that bit of reflection at the end of a game. Whether it's from an opponent or if you've got someone. I know some players who they've got a close friend or a mentor who they might message after a game and say, hey, this is what kind of quick rundown of what happened, and get a little bit of feedback on it. But I think, being able to reflect on it can still give you that sense of improvement, because it's a dice game. Yeah. Something can go wrong and you can lose a game, but you can still reflect on a particular action that you were unsure about and go, well, that was optimal.
Yeah.
A month ago when I went to the last event, I was in a similar scenario and I didn't make the right, and it still lost. Like, the result may not have changed. Yeah. But you can reflect on improvement in the same way that in a sporting team, like in a rowing team or a rowing crew, where you're racing and what crew finishes first, and then other crews finish subsequent to that, and a crew might aim to get closer to another crew each time. You can be aiming to get closer to the right decisions each time.
Absolutely. I was listening to a podcast the other day with a bloke, and I'm going to butcher his name because I can't quite remember. It was Ray Dalio?
Right.
Something like that. Famous Wall Street guy, investment banker. And he was talking about one of his principles, he calls it a principle, is that pain plus self-reflection equals progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, that is so fucking true. It's one thing to lose a game, but if you lose a game and then blame it on the dice, well, you're not actually fucking self-reflecting, you're deflecting.
Correct.
And you're not going to learn. You need to lose the game, and then you need to reflect on why and learn from it.
I think self-reflection is one of the most underrated things.
Absolutely. In
40K and in life, frankly. Again, to use another example of how I experienced it in my work and then how you apply it in 40K, is a lot of the time, again, we might have a young crew, like a year 8 crew or a year 9 crew, that they do a race and the gate, which is the part that the oar sits in, they didn't do it up properly and it pops out mid-race and they lose their oar and then they fucking crash and burn because they're missing an oar, missing 50% of the tools they need to do it. And they'll come off the water and they'll say, oh, we lost because my gate popped open. We lost because I lost my oar. Well, my response to that is always, well, did you check it beforehand?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, I think, with 40k. People will say, like, oh, I lost because the dice did this. Like, okay, well, did you need to be shooting at that?
Yeah.
Or if it was an armor save, were you wrong to be in a position where that was able to be targeted?
Yeah.
Like, did
exactly.
you do the preparation prior to that to actually make it come down to that?
Yeah, a real classic one is, I lost because he went first. And it's like, well, no, you lost because you didn't deploy in such a way that shielded yourself from his alpha strike. That's what actually happened. It's not because he went first, or she, I should say.
Yeah.
But it's not because they went first. It's because you failed to prepare yourself for the possibility of them going first.
Absolutely.
And taking ownership for your failures is like, and as soon as I sort of had that epiphany, I was like, well, hang on, maybe I should stop blaming the dice. Maybe, like, I used to run pure corn, pure world leaders, right? Which is why all these cases are full of red.
Yeah.
But I kept losing, right? And I kept saying to myself, I'm just losing because corn are bad. And then I realized, no, I'm losing because I'm choosing to take corn. If I change that, now corn can continue to be bad, and I'm no longer losing.
Yeah.
So
it's a really interesting psychology point. Like, language has powerful impact on psychology.
Yeah. And
one of the most powerful things that I find, and I talk a lot with the kids about this, is the word but. So like, I want to take corn, or I'm losing because corn are bad, or I want to take corn but they're bad.
Yeah.
Well, you can actually separate those two statements. When you say but, you're nullifying the statement that came before it.
Yeah. And
you're only focusing on the second thing. So in that scenario, all you're focusing on is corn are bad. And as you said, you're ignoring the I want to take corn.
Yeah.
You can have and instead of but.
Yeah.
I want to take corn and corn are bad.
Yeah.
And it dramatically changes it. Or you can say, I want to win, but corn are bad. You could go, I want to win and corn are bad. Okay, well, maybe then I need to look at the second half of that statement.
Yeah. Because
it's not working with the first one. Again, it comes back to that self-reflection. People who are able to look at their preparation for an event or for a game, or even down to things like, going first, the deployment, did they actually deploy in such a way as to be prepared to go second?
Yeah. Did
they take a list that could go second?
Yeah.
I see a lot of people, I'm to my own detriment, I'm sure, I'm on a lot of those Facebook groups. I'm a bit of a Blood Angels fan. I'm on the Blood Angels Facebook pages, and there's always people talking about, taking this unit or that unit and wanting to, how they're going to, if I go first, this is going to happen. It's like, cool. What if you don't?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And most of them haven't even thought about it.
Yeah.
It literally has not crossed their mind when they're sitting there and they're doing their list, which is part of their preparation.
It's one of the main things, like, because I get so many people send me messages, like, I get, probably almost one a day on average. Like, some days it'll be quiet, and then other days I'll be just like, my inbox will blow up. People asking me list advice. And I don't always have the time to respond to all of them.
Yeah.
But the first question that I do give back when they ask me, what do you think of this list, is, what do you want to get out of this? Because if you want to podium at an event, and you send me a list that has like Fleshhounds and Bloodthirsters and Berserkers on foot, and you say, what would you change? I'm going to say
everything.
The whole fucking list has got to go, right? But if you clearly state your priorities and you say, look, I want to run pure corn. That's like one of my principles. I want to run pure corn, and I respect that. But I want to place as high as I can, and you have a realistic goal, then we can do business. But you've got to be prepared to self-reflect and accept that if you choose to run something suboptimal and then you don't get good results, it's because of your choice, not because of the optimality of the unit.
Yeah. And I think that, one of the questions I like to ask people, and I get people, more so the longer I've now been involved, I get people message me on Facebook and ask me questions about various things. And the number one question I ask them is, what would you do differently?
Yeah.
So you've just played a game, this was my list and I lost. What should I change? I always like, well, what would you change about what you did?
Yeah.
If you, going back in time with all the knowledge that you have now, but then what would you do differently? Most people can't answer that question.
Yeah.
And I think that's their biggest problem.
Yeah.
Is because if you can't identify what you would change about your own actions, and you can only focus on the dice, or but first turn, or but they've got a busted unit that's stupid and should be nerfed or whatever. You, as you said before, you're not being self-reflective, you're being deflective. And you're trying to actually turn the attention away from yourself so that you don't have to ask hard questions.
Yeah, you've got to be self-reflective, and you've got to be honest.
And I think that that's actually another example of momentum in a negative direction. Because momentum, going back to the idea of momentum being basically classical conditioning, is you do something, you have some kind of reward for it, and deflecting, part of the reward for it can be that you don't have to have self-criticism.
Yeah.
And so you're going to keep doing that.
Yeah,
because it's easier
so
than
much
facing
of that. Like, so many people used to say, "Oh, I lost because the ITC missions are trash," and it's like, really, that's what you're going to attribute your loss to? The missions that you chose to play and that you had full knowledge of before you went in and full understanding of.
So a great example of that is I said earlier that when I just started, I went to an event because it was a chance to play some games, and I hadn't done that. And I played. It was 5 games, and it was a narrative tournament. You used the twist cards and so it wasn't super serious. But there were a couple of decent players at it who were quite experienced.
Yeah.
And in 3 out of my 5 games, it was the draft system. You rule out missions.
Was this 40k draft?
No, it was Slumberhammer.
Slumberhammer, yes.
But use the same thing.
Same format, same tiers.
You do the draft, and you rule out the missions. And 3 games out of 5, I got the same mission. I can't remember what it was called.
I remember that story, but
it was basically there were 3 objectives. You couldn't score the objectives until turn 3. But if at any point you held all 3 objectives, you immediately won.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a silly mission.
Yeah,
it's a dumb mission.
The draft one, the narrative missions.
But the point is, both players had every opportunity to read the mission and to read what was happening. And in all 3, I was playing a really underpowered list because it was just models that I owned, and I was turning up to play some games. And all 3 of those games I won on the first turn because I read the mission and then went, oh, okay, so if I just hold the objectives, I'll win. The other player focused on that you don't score till turn 3.
Yeah.
And so deployed, ready to play the game later. And I just went, okay, well, I'm on the objectives and now I win.
Yeah.
All right, thanks very much for the game. And 2 of them got really angry at me about, oh, you should have told me. And as someone who was brand new to the game, I was quite shocked. Yeah. Well, surely you know more than I do, and I'm just here. All I've done is read the mission. But their reaction was to blame me.
Yeah. And
to blame the missions when we both had access to exactly the same tool. We both had access to exactly the same information. But the difference was that one person read the rule and one person didn't. And that's not to take they're silly missions, it is inherently not great. But I didn't win because I went first and they didn't have the opportunity to get on. It was because they didn't, but they refused to.
I think the reason that they probably got upset is because they probably looked at your list and went, wow, that's trash.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, this is my first event. And they're like, wow, he's nice, he's a newbie, he's got a trash list. So they built themselves up like, oh, I'm going to fucking destroy this guy. And then you go first turn, I win. And they would have been like, I would pay good money to see the faces on these people.
One of the players, he had a Yanari list. This was back before the nerf, and he had Hemlocks and Reapers and Shining Spears. And he had first turn. He basically deleted 75% of my army on the first turn.
Yeah. But then that remaining 25 just hops on objectives.
Well, because they were bikers, and I think I had a Warlock with Quicken, so we just jumped out and we were there. And I remember saying to the end of my first turn, I was like, oh, I think that's the game. And this was the first one where we'd played that mission.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, I think that's the game. And he just looked at me with this kind of look of disgust. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, I won. And he read the card, and just his face dropped. But again, afterwards, because you then have the time waiting for the next round, he was going around to people, obviously, because he knew a lot of people, and was just complaining about this mission.
Yeah.
Instead of going, I didn't read the mission, I should have read the mission. I actually think, how stupid is this mission?
Yeah. At the risk of sounding negative, I think that this is something that the 40k community just needs to fucking wake up to. And they need to stop blaming other people for their failures. Stop blaming the mission, stop blaming the codex, stop blaming GW, stop blaming the TOs, stop fucking, deflecting all the time, and just realize sometimes, sure, the dice will fuck you, right?
Yeah.
That's unavoidable, right? And sometimes GW, right, unbalanced. things, right? But you have the ability to take those unbalanced things.
Yep.
Now, an argument could be made that if you own a Corn army and then they release a fucking Zinch model that's OP as fuck, but you're like, but I don't have a Zinch army, I can't access that. That's a valid argument, right?
Yep.
That being said, that doesn't mean that that doesn't give you the not the right, I guess. I just don't think it's appropriate for you to then attribute all of the things that you lost to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, focus on the things. It's almost like a stoic principle where it's like, you know, there's certain things in life that you can't change, certain things that you can, right?
Yeah.
So instead of focusing on the things that you can't change and getting upset about them, focus on the things that you can influence and do your best to influence them there.
Yeah.
So you can't change the fact that the new Space Marine Codex is OP and they've got all these fucking sick tricks and you're a Chaos Space Marine player. You can't change that, right?
No.
And you probably don't have the finances or the time or the interest of running out and starting a Space Marine army.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got, this is your situation, you know. Fucking deal with it. Go, okay, what can I do? Okay, well, what legions can I take? Because I can take Night Lords and something, even though they're painted red.
Yep.
You'd be like, well, no, they're red Night Lords, right?
Yep.
Crimson
The
Knight.
Red Lords.
They're called the Crimson Knight.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can just come up with some bullshit.
Yep.
Do a Night Lord's army and be like, now you can't fall back because I have a Night Lord stratagem that says you can't fall back. And
Yeah.
now you Berserkers don't need to wrap and pinion. You can do various things that way. Like, look at the things that you can influence.
Yep.
And focus on that. Whereas so many 40k players, and it's like, it's almost like a pandemic in the 40k community,
Yeah.
where all these people are just, they've got this sickness where they're just like, oh, it's because it's bad, it's because this is bad, it's because of that, it's because of that, and then they get support, they get that positive feedback because
from other people, if
other
they
people
think
feel
the
the
same
same
way.
way.
Because again, they don't want to be self-reflective.
Yeah. So
Like,
you get
one of-
those. Yeah, it's bad.
Well, one of the, and I definitely think that my work, I feel like this is actually an area I'm really, I think as a player, it's probably one of my strongest areas, even though that's not a terribly self-reflective kind of thing to say. I do actually think that,
The irony.
and I think that it comes from my work where, you know, one of the principles that was drummed into me when I first started coaching, when it comes to the team, is that, you know, success is their fault, failure is your fault.
Okay.
So
I like that.
when you're coaching a team, if you're coaching a rowing crew and they win, you can't jump up and down and say, I'm the coach, how fucking good am I?
Yeah.
You have to say, well, I had athletes who are good enough to win.
Yeah.
And if you lose, you similarly can't turn around and say, well, my athletes weren't good enough. You have to take it on yourself. Well, did I do everything possible that gave them the opportunity to win?
Yeah.
And if you didn't, then that's what you have to work on. Because same with an event at 40k, and same with a sporting event, there is one winner.
Mm.
While an event is a series of individual games which have winners and losers, one person wins an event.
Yeah.
And however, you know, whether it's 7 other people or 177 other people didn't.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that 177 other players were trash.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think people need to sort of wake up to, is that, you know what, losing is okay.
Yeah.
Losing
Losing is the most...
Going undefeated is extremely unlikely.
Yeah, again, winning is not normal.
Yeah.
And we always want to win, and we should always aim to win. And I always tell my athletes that, you know, even though it's not about whether you win or lose, wanting to win and aiming to win is everything.
Yeah.
That because that's how you improve. That's how you create that positive movement forward, is by seeking to win and seeking to improve. But winning isn't normal. Winning is an extraordinary act.
Yeah.
And so to win requires extraordinary acts. It requires preparation. It requires training each of your individual components so that on your big game day or your big race day or your big event, you can put all of those components into practice.
Yeah.
And no one wins a high-level rowing race or a high-level sporting competition or a high-level 40k event by accident.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things, like, people say, oh, 40k, it's a dice game, right? Well, I think it's luck almost has nothing to do with it. Not nothing, but nobody's won LVO because they were lucky. It's not a fucking, it's not a, like, when you sign up, you get a raffle ticket and then go play fucking 8 games. It doesn't matter the results, and then we'll just draw a winner. If that was the case, then it'd be like, well, yeah, you got lucky, right? it's one of those things where, and there's so many luck involved factors in 40k that they, in my opinion, they cancel each other out.
Absolutely.
So there are certain times where you might have got unlucky and gone second, but there's certain games where you're going to get lucky and go first.
Yeah.
There's certain times where you might get unlucky and you might get paired into a hard counter to your list, but then there's certain times when you're going to get lucky and you're going to get paired into something that you counter hard.
Exactly.
You know, there's so many things, and it's
even
at the end it comes out.
Exactly,
average.
and even because of the number of dice that get rolled in an individual game, you might roll shit on your hits, for instance.
Yeah.
But then you'll roll fucking hot on your wounds, and every one of them wounds.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or you'll have a turn where you just don't roll that hot, but you might roll really hot on your saves in your opponent's turn. You actually don't lose it much, and again, it kind of balances out. But people always focus on what has gone against them, and I think
absolutely.
Going back to the idea of momentum, I think that's one of the psychology where momentum can be really dangerous as well, because people who start focusing on essentially momentum in this competition kind of perspective is that you do something, if you get a response, it reinforces that, and you keep acting in that certain way. If you focus on a bad event that's happened and you keep thinking about that event, you will keep acting in a way that will put you in a bad position.
Sure. Even just little things like you'll be playing a game with somebody and they'll roll to hit you, and they'll be like, "Wow, that was a trash roll." And then they'll roll to wound you, and they'll be like, "Oh, that was a trash roll. I should have got at least 10, wounds, but I only got 5." And then you'll roll your saves and you'll fail all 5, right?
Yeah.
So in the end, they killed the 5 guys, which is probably average.
Yeah.
But they will walk away from that going, "Oh, fuck, these dice are killing me." Right?
Yep.
And the problem is as soon as you adopt that energy, you've just shut off any positive momentum you had.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you deploy really strong and you do this and then, okay, I made a mistake over here, you just put it in the box. I'll reflect on that later, but for now, I need to keep this positive momentum
So there's
going.
this phenomenon in sport that they call the hot hand. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. So it comes from basketball. So it's basically the idea that it's kind of been like a mythology within a lot of sport for a lot of time. But if someone's, in basketball, if they've sunk the last 6 baskets, get the ball to that guy.
Yeah.
Because they're on fire.
Yeah.
They've got a hot hand.
Yep.
Yeah, they're on fire. They're sinking everything today. And it's a genuine phenomenon. They've done research. There was a 2014 Harvard study about the hot hand, where what they looked at people. It was a what's the word, where they don't, it's not non-interventionist, where they observed what happened in the NBA, and then they collated the data and then created statistics from it. So they looked at when they made free throws, when someone made the first one, what the likelihood that they would then make the second one is.
Okay, yeah.
And if someone made the first free throw, instead of 3, they were 16.3% more likely to make the next one.
Okay.
It's the same player, and they looked at them in different. Because they look at it over the course of a season in basketball. They play lots of games.
Yeah, yeah.
And they could see if they missed the first one versus if they made the first one, the likelihood of them scoring the second one, and it was significantly higher.
Yeah, because you would work out overall what's their accuracy like.
Correct.
And then you would compare instances where one shot and then instances where it's the second shot. What was the accuracy of second shots? And if the accuracy of second shots are higher in a situation where they directly follow a hit, I guess.
Yeah. And
that makes sense.
And it's that kind of that same sort of thing where that getting that first one creates the confidence, and the confidence creates relaxation, which allows you to focus on the moment that you're in. And I think in 40K, I was thinking about this earlier and how it kind of applies. But if you make a good decision, let's say you charge with Khan and you charge with your berserkers, and you fight with Khan first and you remove one of the berserkers so that you can't be counter-struck, and you go, that was a fucking sick play. That was so good. You have the confidence when it comes to making your next decision where you can be focused on what that decision is. Yeah. If you piled everything into the one target and you fought with berserkers first and you did however much you did, and then they interrupted and they killed Khan back or whatever it is, and you're like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have done that. The more you think about that shouldn't have done, the less likely you're going to be confident about making the next decision, and the more your next action is influenced by the decision you made back then.
Yeah.
And sometimes people might say, "Oh, well, it shows you what not to do." But you shouldn't be thinking about what not to do. You should be focusing on what you should do.
Yeah.
Because there's actually a million things you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't,
Well,
kick over the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, probably shouldn't do that.
And they're good things to reflect on post game. But when you're in the game, you need to be in the game.
Yeah.
You need to be.
And I think
about
it is much easier when you make the correct decision. So that's why when you get a really good first turn, you make the right decisions. You kill something. You make a really good movement positioning, and then you pile in and you tag something you don't want to shoot on the next turn. You're like, yep, that was good. Happy with that movement there. Then going to the next turn, you're going to have that confidence. You keep making correct decisions, and you start to get easier and easier. It becomes easier and easier to win a game, and it's not because you're in a dominant position, because you can win from you can be behind after the first two turns and still come back and win. But where the momentum comes from is not necessarily scoreboard pressure. It comes from the series of making correct decisions.
Well, it's almost like, because I've been looking into, and this is something that I'm going to try and give it a go at tournaments to see whether it works. But I've been looking a lot into meditation, right? And basically, the idea is with the meditation is that it allows your subconscious to sort of marry up with your consciousness, and it brings that creative spirit alive, I guess, if you want to get all hippie about it. But I was talking to Stewie last night about bandwidth. And the theory is that everybody's different, but everybody has a set amount of bandwidth. It's a set amount that you can focus on and think about at any given time.
Yep, absolutely.
You can't be thinking about everything that exists, right? So in a game, you need to correctly allocate your bandwidth and focus on the things that you need to be focusing on, and don't focus on the things that aren't helping you, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, if you fucking fail a charge and you're like, fuck, I'm going to get fucked now. Okay, it's happened. Move on.
Yeah. Another example in sport, talk about a lot and drawing on rowing here, but we'll talk to athletes about focusing on one or two actions that they can do. And it might be about how they're moving the blade towards the water, or moving the oar towards the water, or how they're moving in time with someone else in the boat. And it's a very specific thing that they can think about. And not allocating, we don't use that word, but there's a great concept about allocating bandwidth or allocating mental energy to things that are, particularly things that are outside of their control. An example of that where I think a lot of people do, and personally I think it's a mistake, is I know a lot of people who are not as strong a players who, after they roll for the hits, for instance, they'll pick out the hits, and they'll count how many hits they got.
Yeah.
Oh, I got 10 hits. Okay, now I'm rolling for wounding. All right, I got 6 wounds. Okay, that's how many saves you got. What I notice, the good players that will play against guys like Jez or Lee or stuff like that, they'll roll. They'll just pick out the misses, pick them up, pick up the next thing, roll it, and it won't be till the end of the sequence that they actually allocate any bandwidth, to use that term, to figuring out how many dice were rolled. Like, obviously they counted the right number of dice and stuff. They don't figure out how many wounds or how many hits there were until it reaches that final stage.
Yeah.
Because it's all mental energy that's unnecessary.
Yeah.
And it's mental energy that's being used on something that's actually outside of your control.
Yeah.
Knowing how many hits you rolled doesn't change how many hits were rolled.
Yeah.
Doesn't change how many wounds
if you've got 20 shots, you get your 20 dice, you count your 20 dice, you don't need to count again or think about anything again until after your opponents rolled their saves and removed their casualties.
Correct.
So if during that time, if you sort of meditate, like pseudo meditate, and just let your consciousness sit, don't stress about things, don't think about things, just go through the motions, right?
Yeah.
That allows the sort of creative juices to keep flowing. Whereas if you start going, okay, I'm counting, I'm focusing, I'm doing better than I should be, or I'm doing worse than I should be, oh my god, and this, that, whatever, you start really focusing hard in on that, it sort of blocks you and prevents you from reaching like a flow state where you're actually you're in the zone and you're just kicking ass.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's a block on momentum, because you're diverting that momentum in the direction you want to be, away to thinking about something that's not relevant, and that's then going to have a later impact on your ability to make correct decisions or ability to keep moving forward. Yeah.
So there's so much on momentum. Not only is there's in-game momentum, which is talking about things like that with the dice rolling and not letting your thoughts get in the way of your own momentum. Then there's also your player progression as your career. Like if you view 40K as your career, there's that as well. But the other thing that I think, I'm not sure if this directly ties in with momentum, but it's definitely worth bringing up, is that the best players lose more games than the worst players.
Yeah.
And so by that I mean, like, you know, if you play one game a year and you win that game, you have 100% win rate.
Yeah.
But if somebody plays 1,000 games a year and they lose 200 games and win 800, like that person lost 200 games this year.
Yeah.
But they're going to do so much fucking better than you, right?
Have you heard that Michael Jordan quote about how many shots he's missed in his career and so forth?
No.
It's something, I won't do it justice, but something like, you know, I've missed over 6,000 shots in my career. I've been trusted to take a game-winning shot 111 times and failed.
Yeah.
I've lost over 300 games, and that's why I succeed.
Yeah, getting comfortable with losing is so important for your momentum.
I think that's
it allows you to take the loss and not lose any momentum.
Talking to a lot of elite rowers, I think one of the biggest differences between elite athletes who go on and race at an Olympic level and win medals and that type of thing versus rowers rather who are very capable, who are talented, who are fit, who are strong, who have got, you know, the right, you know, height and arm span, all that sort of stuff to be really good, who don't reach that same level. One of the things that I've observed from working with them over the years is that those ones who go the next step are more interested in winning than they are afraid of losing.
Yes.
They more want to win than they are afraid of losing.
Yeah.
And that means that by wanting to win, they're also okay with losing or with making mistakes along the way or with having those little setbacks because their focus is still on winning at the end.
Yeah.
People who are afraid of losing do anything they can to not experience that. And as such, they don't give themselves the opportunity to actually grow. Like really common. So before I kind of got to know you guys a bit better and got to play games with better players on a regular basis, I used to be part of a club in North Melbourne that played every week and played a lot of casual players.
Yeah.
And the number of times that they did shit that looking back was super fucking shady.
Yeah.
You know, like not letting you see the dice roll, or you'd work out afterwards that they had an extra 120 points in their list because they really wanted to include a model, and acted like that was fine. They never got better because all they were concerned about was winning that game against me that night.
I call it Kieran Howard syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things where like I actively want to lose every practice game I play. I want to lose so that when I get into the tournament, I know exactly what to look out for. If you and me play a game tonight in preparation for an event tomorrow, I want you to win.
Yeah.
I want you to do all of the sick fucking tricks you can do, and I want you to fuck me. So that then, when we rock up at the tournament on the table, on the day, I go, I know all your tricks. Whereas if I sit there and this is one of the things I had with Gus recently, was like, I'd go to do something, and he'd be like, oh, just so you know, I have a strat that allows me. So if you do fall back,
was this in practice games or in the?
It was a practice event.
Sure.
Like I was treating that event as practice games. You know, I wasn't taking that event too seriously, which maybe that contributed to how I went undefeated. Who knows? But one of the things that he did was like, I'd go to fall back with a unit. He'd be like, oh, just so you know, Harley's in the strat. If you fall back, I'm going to shoot you. And I was like, why'd you tell me that? Like, I understand we're trying to be friendly here.
Yeah.
I want you to get me.
Yeah. A lesson learned harshly is a lesson learned best.
I want to fall back and then have you go, I'm going to shoot you, and then I'm going to go, no, fuck, I've just lost that game. But then when we go to a tournament, and I go up against some random other Harley player, I'm going to be like, do not fall back from them because they will fucking shoot.
Well, the same event that we're talking about, I played a game against an AdMech player, and it was actually the first time I played. I don't know how in threes I've never played an AdMech list before.
Yeah.
But it was the first time I played it, and I was running my Blood Angels, and I got made a charge from with my Sanguinary Guard into a unit of whatever the Chicken Walkers are called. I don't know what they're with the auto
Demi Striders or
whatever they are.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he's like, okay, I'm going to Overwatch. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. He goes, oh, I've got a strat that lets me Overwatch on ballistic skill. And I was like, oh, okay. And he said, do you want to take that back? Like, knowing that now, do you want to do it? I was like, well, no, I've done it. Like, I'm not going to take it back. Like, I've said that's what I was doing. Like, the whole reason you have that strat is to activate it when someone charges you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to turn around and say, and in the back of my mind at the time, I was like, oh, fuck, well, this is probably a really big problem. I mean, as it panned out, I didn't do the math, but the math was still in my favour. Like, it was still the correct call to charge it, even with that in mind, and it worked out fine and ended up going on to win the game. But if I'd gone, I'll have that back, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm probably not really going to file that away that way. No. Whereas the fact that it happened, I was like, holy shit, you can Overwatch on ballistic skill. I'm going to file that away for the future.
Yeah.
An example with one of my crews that I coached, this was 10 years ago now, one of the first Year 9 crews I coached when I was starting out as a coach. We were at a regatta, this competition for rowing, and it was our final competition of the year, the head of the river, and we were leading with about 200 metres to go.
Yeah.
And the umpires, so in rowing races, the crews are racing along, and there's a boat with the umpires and follows behind that gives directions to make sure that boats are in their lane and that sort of thing. And the way that they give directions is that they point a white flag in the direction that they want the crew. They'll go directly behind the crew, and then they'll point a white flag in the direction they want.
So if they're drifting into somebody else's lane, they'll be like...
Exactly. Okay. Now, I had never told my crew this before.
Okay.
And we're at the final with the head of the river.
You intentionally hadn't told them?
No. This was my fuck up. This was my very real fuck up. And they put out the white flag.
Yeah.
And our stroke seat, which is the person at the front of the boat who everyone else is following, saw the white flag and thought it meant it was a signal to stop rowing. So he stopped rowing. 200 metres to go, we're in front.
Oh no!
And everyone else has oars have started clattering. They've gotten oar stuck in the water. The boat's turned 45 degrees. Everyone's gone past. By the time they've worked out what's going on, we end up coming sixth.
Yeah.
And that should have been, as a young kid, that should have been my very first head of the river win.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't stand there and go, I'll have that back, thanks. Or, can I go back and correct that for them?
Yeah.
I just have to wear that. But you know what? I have never, in the 10 years since, I have never gone through a season where I have not taught my crew what all the umpire signals mean.
Yeah.
So a lesson learned harshly is a lesson learned best.
Absolutely.
Because you do actually remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, and as soon as, and the other thing is like you were saying about the people who they sneakily bring that 120 extra points, or there's 1,000,000,001 different ways that you can cheat in 40k. Some people call them micro cheats, things like I grabbed an inch here, or but that's just, as far as I'm concerned, it's cheating. It's cheating. It disgusts me when I see people cheat, but it disgusts me 10 times harder when I see people cheat in practice games.
Yeah.
Because if you cheat in a practice game, just say you and me were playing a practice game and you cheated, you fucked yourself, not me.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to that fear of failure versus desire to win. In that scenario, if I've cheated in the practice game, it's because I'm so worried about losing that one game and that fear of what that's going to feel like for me, or whatever it might be, that I've acted in a way that's actually to my detriment. Yeah. And in terms of that, going back to the original topic of momentum, I've stopped my momentum for improvement because I've actually given myself an advantage that doesn't exist in the real world or in competition. And conversely, you've actually given me momentum. Yeah. Because now I've been put up against a unrealistically challenging situation. Yeah. And that refines my skills. And then when it comes to the tournament day, I'll be going up against a Blood Angel unit, and you'll be like, oh yeah, fucking 4 attacks each. I'm like, don't they get 5? Or... And but you also will plan for that when you're thinking like, all right, they've got 5 models, 5 attacks, probably 25. Okay, it's gonna hurt. Yeah. But when I was playing with those more casual players, and that was my only preparation. Before I went to my first large event, I was saying it was EastCon last year. I played practice games against these people, but I would send them my list in advance and say, this is what I'm running. Yeah. And I knew, because they're going to tailor. Yeah. And I was okay with that. And I think of my practice games, I think I had 6 or 7 practice games in the sort of 2 weeks leading up to it, because I wanted to do reasonably well at the event. And I think I lost all of them. think I might have won one game by like a point, but I lost basically every single practice game.
Yeah.
And then I went 4-1 and finished 4th.
Yeah.
So exactly what you're talking about. I had the opportunity to actually improve by playing against lists that were designed to fuck me.
Yeah.
And figuring out, okay, well, what can I do to try and play into that, or what can I do to try and come up with a way to still interact with the game or score points or whatever it was when I'm in a bad matchup.
Yeah.
And even though they weren't great players, they still beat me because they had the opportunity to go, I'm going to, you've got, I can't remember what I was running, but, I'm going to bring the things that exactly are going to deal with that.
Yeah, you're bringing tanks, I'll bring some melter guns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I remember playing a game against a guy, like, this is way back in the day, where I did a similar thing. And I rocked up to his house to play the game, and he's gone, oh, just so you know, all the plasma guns in my units, they're actually melter guns. And he hands me, like, on his list, it's all melter guns. And I was running Rhino Rush Berserkers. And I was just like, righto, mate. Like, pull the other one. Actually, no, it was tried 2 Land Raiders full of Berserkers.
Yeah, sure.
And this is back in 7th edition, where if you were less than strength 8, you actually couldn't hurt a Land Raider.
Right, okay.
So, and plasma guns were like the optimal weapon. Everybody was like, plasma guns OP, everyone's spamming plasma guns.
Yep.
The only thing that fucked them was Land Raiders, because they were T8. Or it was armor value 14, or however the fuck it used to work. But the principle was essentially that if you were less than strength 8, you couldn't hurt Land Raiders. So this guy kitted his whole army out with Dark Angels plasma guns. And I've rocked up 2 Land Raiders. I told him, I'll bring my Land Raiders, it'll be sick. And he's like, oh, they're actually all melter guns. And I'm like, Dark Angels with melter guns? I don't fucking think so. Like, what are you talking about, mate? Yeah. But I was just like, all right, if you want to rob yourself like that, if you want to, give yourself an unfair advantage, then do it.
And I'd also say that there's a difference between cheating and making a mistake.
Yeah.
That's also a big thing. And
it's huge.
Obviously that happens in practice games because often you might be a little bit more casual. So, talking about that inch grabbing or whatever, that might happen more in a practice game because people are being less precise than they are on game day.
I'm a shocker for that stuff in a practice game.
And I think we all are. But that's where, if you're being really honest with yourself about practice and you're trying to perhaps, improve on your movement phase or improve on a specific component thing, maybe about how you're going to position yourself for charges or something like that, that's when you actually do have to be quite hard on yourself about making sure you don't make those mistakes. And it's easy in that environment to do. And that's where it's not cheating because it's a genuine mistake caused by lack of attention. Cheating is knowingly doing it.
Yeah.
If you know you didn't move 6 and you knowingly move at 7, because you want to get something into rapid fire range, that's cheating. If you just kind of go, yep, roughly, all right, move things over and then you measure later for the range, like, oh, these guys are in rapid fire range.
Yeah.
That's different, but in terms of your improvement, it's the same thing.
I'm also a really big one for owning your mistakes and punishing yourself. Even if your opponent doesn't want to, punish yourself. So, for example, one of the games that we had earlier in the piece, I was running the Vanguard unit with all the Thunderhammers.
Yep.
And I hadn't remodeled them since CanCon. So I had half the unit had Thunderhammers, half the unit had Chainswords. And every incarnation of the list that I'd ran, for pretty much the whole time, had 5 Thunderhammers, 5 Chainswords, right? But for that list, I had to drop like 1 or 2 Thunderhammers so that I could get like an Apothecary or whatever the thing was, right? And I wrote the list, and then literally I wrote the list, and then like a month or so went by where I didn't play any games with it, didn't do
it was because of lockdown.
Because of lockdowns, right? So, and then we started this where there was like up to 3 people could come to your house or something, so we decided to have lockdown league games where we get a tournament spread out over a large period of time where we play these games. So even between rounds, there was like time.
It was like a week between each round. Yeah.
So like my experience and understanding with the list that I was running was very limited. And then luckily you'd read my list. And then when we're
going back to reading the rules as part of prep.
and then because I was just like relaxed, chilled, and we were playing in my garage for this tournament. Like, it was super chilled. It was practice games effectively. And I've like charged in and gone to hit you with all these Thunderhammers, and you're like, how many fucking Thunderhammers you got? And I'm like, well, there's these 5, and then these 5 Chainswords, right? And you've like looked at the list, and you're like, you only got 3. And then it sort of just hit me. I was like, oh, that's right. I remember now, fuck, I changed the list. I've got 2 extra Thunderhammers in here. So I was just like, okay, I lose this game then. You know, I was just like, I
think I delete that unit, but 2 less Thunderhammers means now I don't, and there's a problem.
And it was a huge swing, because if I didn't delete that unit, that means they're locked in combat, which meant that, you know, it sets off a chain of reaction of things.
And it was turn 1 on
So I was just like, you know what, let's play the game out. Let's just, like, we'll resolve this however we do. But regardless of outcome, I want to put down that you won the game, because I can't accept winning a game whilst making that kind of mistake, because then I don't learn from the mistake, you know. And now I'm in a habit of, like, literally modeling my shit even for practice games. Like, we've got quite a few mates that are like, they want to proxy this, they want to test that. I'm like, no, I don't want it, because I know that if I look at the model and it's got a fucking Thunderhammer, I'll think it's got a fucking Thunderhammer.
Yeah, especially if there's 3 or 4 models very similar to it.
Yeah. And when you're running multiple versions of the same list, where one version has 5 Thunderhammers, one version has 3 Thunderhammers, like, you know, it's really easy to forget and just go, oh, I know the Vanguard unit, it does this, and it has that, you know? So now I'm just like, nah, even for practice games, like, ideally I want to model shit accurately, which is a lesson that I've learned.
Yeah. And, like, I think that's a really good policy as well, because, or where possible, obviously not everyone cannot get everything modeled exactly, or, you know, they haven't bought the models yet, and they want to still be able to test things out and that sort of thing. But it comes to the idea of sort of self-discipline, and, you know, it's even in terms of getting that army ready, forcing yourself to have things modelled in time for a practice game are going to increase the likelihood you're going to get painted in time to actually play it in the tournament, because you've taken some positive steps towards doing that. And it also means that you're going to be more switched onto it, you're going to be more engaged with it, because if you've actually got to make an action, you've got to model a unit, you're going to have probably thought in the list building stage a little bit more about options you want to try, because do I have to do anything to actually get this model on the table? And even that element, it forces you to justify your choices a little bit more, which goes back to the idea of preparation. Because you've really thought about it, because there's a physical thing you have to do. I have to go and potentially get this model, and then build it so that it's ready for this game. And that's obviously if you're playing 10 games a week. I know some people are a lot luckier than me, get to play 40k a lot more regularly, and you're trying all different lists. You know, maybe that's not possible, but even thinking about whether you're going to have it for the event that you're testing it for. Because
it's one of those things where it's like, as part of the self-reflection, I'm a huge fan of identifying your own weaknesses and understanding them, not necessarily trying to change them, because sometimes you just have weaknesses. Like that's just a part of who you are. You know, you might be 35 years old. The chances of you going and fucking changing childhood programming that gave you the fucking for example, I'm a hyper aggressive player. Like, try and put me on a KG list that's going to hide in the corners and do like fuck that. I'm not interested, because I need that momentum. I need to ride the momentum of I'm doing damage. I'm doing all this stuff, right? I need to be in, right? But another one of my big weaknesses, I would say that's one of my strengths, but one of my big weaknesses is I have a shit memory. Like, I'm always just forgetting dumb shit, moving outside of my auras, forgetting that I have rerolls. You know, I ran Raven Guard for like not forever, but for a long enough time that I should have known. And then at CanCon, I was just like completely forgot that I get +1 to hit and wound against characters, which is the whole fucking reason. It's the whole reason that you take the fucking list, you know. But I just completely forgot that I had it. Right? So that's when I sort of had the epiphany. I was like, okay, that's clearly a weakness of mine. I've tried to work on it and tried to, you know, do various things to train my memory. But part of that is also writing a basic list. Writing a list where it's like, you know what, it's a Tau list. You don't need to worry about auras. You don't need to worry about stratagems, because they only have one good stratagem. You know, you don't have to worry about
command and control node.
It's like you don't need to worry about all of this shit. Just deployment, I'm strong, and Tau deployment is crucial for Tau, and target priority, I'm strong, and that's crucial for Tau. So I'm like, if I play that, it's like I don't have to stress about all
and
this
that's
shit.
Something that sporting teams do all the time, is they identify where their team is strong, and they identify where their team is weak, and they build a game plan around that team. So, you know, I try and use an example, maybe say football, you might have really fast people on flanks. So you want to transition the ball really quickly out to them so that they have the maximum opportunity to use their speed. if you've got really, if you're in a rugby team, you've got really big forwards, you're going to be dominant in the scrum and in that in that forwards tackling and all that sort of thing. You're going to build your game plan around that.
Yeah.
Because you're identifying, well, where am I good? Where am I weak? How do I maximize the tools that are at my disposal while minimizing the weaknesses?
Yeah.
And I think that's something, that's a really good self-reflection you've had there in talking about how that applies to your army list composition. Because I think a lot of people don't do that. They go, I like this unit, I want to run this unit, I'm terrible with this unit, and I'm not going to consider that.
I think the worst version is when they just download the list. That's the worst version. When they just download a net list, and they go, this list is good, therefore it will be good for me. And it's like, that's not how it fucking works.
I think even worse than that is when people download, and like net listing at its core is not, I don't think it's that bad. It's because it's the same as anything. You're building on research or you're building on knowledge that someone else has. But like anything, you have to understand it.
Yeah.
I think even worse than just bringing a net list and going, well, I think I'm going to win because I've got this list that won, LVO or whatever, is when they bring the list, they don't win, and then they go, oh, well, the list is trash. It's clearly not trash. Like, that's why you brought it. But again, it's going back to that deflection and not wanting to self-reflect of, okay, well, firstly, I didn't do my preparation. I didn't understand how the list worked or why those things were in there or how to deploy it or use it or whatever. And you're still not acknowledging the fact that you clearly didn't play it well. Yeah. And that's why it's all the list is trash. But I've genuinely had games, and look, it tends to be against more casual players who are really secretly competitive and don't want to
I've got a theory that there's no such thing as a casual 40k player.
No.
I think that's I think that's a myth. I think that it attracts competitive people. It is a competitive thing, and the true casual people don't play.
Yes, I'd agree.
They just paint shit and collect shit.
I've had games again, and I've played the first half of my 40k career, or first 2/3 of it. I almost apart from at events, I almost exclusively played against casual players because that's what I had access to. That's the people I knew who were prepared to play games with me. A couple of them were pretty decent players as well, and a couple of them were good sportsmen or could play in a way that I would consider to be fair and enjoyable for everyone involved.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the closest thing to a true casual, someone who is fair and sportsmanlike, but acknowledges they're not very good at writing a list or that they make lots of mistakes.
Well, one of the things, like, you'd be like, somebody would be like, do you want to have a casual game on Saturday? And you'd be like, yeah, sure. And they'll be like, it's 2,000 points, chapter approved missions. And it's like, so you want to play a competitive game. Like, if you want to play casual game, it's power level.
You bring 1,000 points crusade.
It's not even points, it's power level.
Yeah.
It's like, and by the way, I'm running unbound. No detachments because it's fucking open play.
Yeah, no strategy.
I'm playing open play missions, and I can cast the same psychic power 1,000 times because it's not match play.
Yeah.
Like, that's casual.
Yeah.
If you want to play casual, that's casual.
Yeah.
If you want to play...
And I've made all my own special characters.
Exactly. Exactly. All these guys have these 6 special rules that are just... I've completely made it up. I wrote it on the bottom of the fucking codex. It's fine.
So, some of the worst games I've ever had have been against casual players who I just play for fun. And then they bring some really fucking dick-stomping list. Yeah. They are super dodgy about how they play, and then they get really grumpy when they're not winning. Yeah. And it's just like, okay, well... At least when you go to an event, everyone knows that they're on the same. Like, everyone knows what the rules are. Everyone knows what the benchmark is.
That's why personally I love 40k events and very, very, very rarely play casual games.
I love practice games.
I'll play practice games, but I think that's obviously different to a casual game. The closest I'll ever do to casual games is apocalypse style games.
Yeah, sure.
And I do them like maybe once a year, once every couple of years. And I'll just pull everything out of these cases and I'll just fucking go...
Is your table big enough for it all?
Nah, you have to put last time we put 6 tables together.
Yeah, wow.
I played against a guard army that had fucking titans and all kinds of... It was sick. But that's proper casual. That's like, we didn't even look at points. I was like, just bring all of your guard and your custodies and your marines and your everything, and you deploy on that side, and I'll bring all of my chaos and I'll deploy on this side.
This is one of the very first games. I think it was actually the first game I played. I played 2 games before I went to Slammer Hammer. One of the games was in a GW store, and I contacted them and said, I want to learn how to play. and they put out a call to their community, their community Facebook, someone want to come and play a game against this guy. And I was running Blood Angels. I had a bit of secondhand stuff I bought online. I had some tactical marines and a rhino and a bunch of bolt guns and carries. And the guy said, "Oh, what are you running?" And I sent him this list. And I think it was 1,000 points or whatever the game. So I didn't have much stuff. He brought a knight.
Oh, fucking hell.
To this game. It was to teach me how to play it. And I got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
And he took so much glee in it. And I was just, even at the time, I was like, I don't know anything about this game, but I know that was bullshit.
I will admit, I did go through a very, very small period, maybe a 6-month period, where I got a lot of satisfaction just fucking stomping Timmy's. Like, it was a guilty pleasure. It was like chocolate, like, it's bad, it's bad for you, it's just, but fuck, it was fun, and then I sort of realized that this is, like, ethically this is wrong, because I'm damaging the scene. I should be propping these people up instead of putting them down. And also, it's not good for my own player development.
Yeah, you're not learning anything.
Yeah.
And the handful of games you've got available to play in any given week, you're squandering on.
Yeah.
It's like, to go back to our sports training metaphor from the beginning, if you go for, you say, I'm going to go for a run because that's some of the training I can do at home, and I just walk it.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't done anything actually.
Exactly.
You've actually wasted that time and that opportunity that you've had to try and get better.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of like slowly walking on a treadmill eating lasagna. And it's like, are you exercising? Are you really fucking exercising, or are you just being a fucking idiot?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've all, like, the longer you're in the hobby, the longer you go through these different, like, patterns. I think I'm starting to taper off my hyper competitive, like trying to win CanCon or that sort of thing. I think I'm sort of transitioning into more of a coach, community support, tournament organizer kind of role.
I can really relate to that because that's the experience I had as a rower.
Yeah.
Because I rowed at school, we won national championships. I rowed after school. I wanted to represent Australia. I wanted to row at the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I reached a point where I would never say that it was never possible, but I also wouldn't say that I was actually good enough to do it.
Yeah.
But had I done everything possible, who knows? I mean, probably still wouldn't have, but I wasn't prepared to make that, to go all in and try to do that. So I transitioned to coaching, and that's what I've always been doing for the last 12 years. And I think that there's so much value. When I do row now, there's still so much value in the coaching I've done in improving my own performance. So when I get in the boat now, even though I haven't rowed at a competitive level for 10 years, I row better than I used to.
Yeah. Because
I've spent so much time working with others that my mental understanding, the understanding I have of what the stroke should be like and how they should move has improved so much more.
Well, it's one of the things they say.
My physicality.
They say one of the best ways to learn something is to teach it, right?
Yeah.
And like that applies to 40K as well. Like, one of the main things that I get a lot of value out is teaching people how to do certain things, because then I go as a tournament organizer, I go watch like 50 different games at once, and I learn so much from all of that sort of stuff. So, and I think it's just about finding where you get your satisfaction from.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can only do that through self-reflection. And when I reflect back, I get a lot more satisfaction from teaching other people how to get success than actually getting the success myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of where my momentum has sort of tapered off a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it,
And that's a really important thing as well, is momentum will get you so far. It needs to be sustained.
Yeah.
And if you reach a point where you don't have the desire to keep maintaining that momentum, then being able to recognize that and look at how you transition into something else that's still a net positive is really, really healthy and really important.
Yeah.
And it's not something I think people don't do enough. And you see it all the time in again, we'll go back to sports, but you see it all the time with athletes who like keep playing, and when they're past their best until they're a shadow of themselves.
Yeah.
And it's when they've lost all their positive momentum, don't have the self-reflection to recognize. Muhammad Ali, arguably the greatest boxer of all time, spent the last few years of his career getting the shit kicked out of him or punched out of him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that he couldn't still box. He still could box, but he wasn't as good as he was because of time and all that sort of stuff. And but he didn't have the self-reflection to be able to step away from it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, if your goal is to improve, right? If you're riding positive momentum, that's going to keep dragging you forward and you're going to enjoy it. But as soon as you start to taper off, if you're not careful, you'll actually start getting depressed and you'll have negative momentum because you're not getting the results, you're not feeling any more improvement, but you still want to improve. So you end up depressed and you end up dropping off. Whereas what happened with me was I sort of started tapering off and I was like, you know what, I'm actually happy with top 20 at CanCon.
Yeah.
And I've been top 20 at CanCon the last 3 CanCons in a row. So I was like, I'm actually okay with that. That's fine by me.
Yep.
And because it's been the same for the last 3 years, I'm like, okay, so I've just like flatlined, but I'm like, okay, I'm at a level that I'm happy with. I'll just keep going there.
Yeah.
And that has been immensely rewarding for me because it's allowed me to pivot some of that like bandwidth, I guess, into coaching other people, running events of my own, and now doing a podcast where, a lot of the if I was really serious about being the best player I possibly can be, I'd be like, what the fuck are these microphones doing? Let's roll some dice, motherfucker. Like let's play a game. I want to learn. I feel like that's important as well, is setting yourself a goal, and when you achieve it, it's okay to just settle.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You don't have to keep re-establishing that goal for further.
Well, achieving a goal is winning.
Yeah.
And that's something I talk about with the kids all the time. We probably do try and encourage them to keep setting new ones, but we talk about the idea of winning every day. And winning every day just means that you have a goal for that session or that game or that, whatever your unit of measurement is. You have a goal for that, and if you achieve it, you've won.
Yep.
You might not have won the race, you might not have been the fastest in training, but if you had a specific thing you were trying to do and you achieve that, you've won. And if you win enough days in a row or enough times between now and your big competition, you have the opportunity to win on the day of the big competition. And in your case right now, maybe the winning every day isn't your own development, but it's the developing the community here in Victoria, or it's bringing through the next group of players who are going to be part of an ATC team.
Yeah, well, that's been a huge one for me as ATC captain last year, and whatever role I end up taking on this year has been, like building the community so that team is going to be strong every year, not just the year while I'm the captain. I want it to be strong the following year as well, and every year for the rest of the time while I'm in Victoria. And if I ever move to another state, I want Victoria to crash and burn. But outside of that,
shows that you're doing the right thing.
Exactly. But yeah, I think they're all very, very valid points as well. Yeah. All right. Well, that's probably a good time to wrap it up because I feel like we could just talk for fucking hours and hours and hours.
Well, we're off to dinner, so we probably will.
Yeah. Yeah. True. But yeah, no. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
We'll definitely have you back on again because I think that we barely scratched the surface of the things that we could talk about in regards to coaching in 40K and the various different ways that they sort of mesh well together. So,
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Blog for the Blood God presents the BloodyOath podcast.
Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Please leave comments below with what you thought about the conversation, any ideas that you thought were interesting, any that you thought were garbage, and also leave some comments about things that you would like Sam and I to discuss in a future episode, because I will definitely be getting Sam back on, and I will be definitely taking this conversation further because he is an absolute well of knowledge, and I think there's a lot to unpack there. And I don't think this 1 2-hour conversation has done the topic justice. So we will definitely be taking this further. So if you have anything that you'd like to ask Sam specifically or myself, put it in the comments of the video or put it on the comments on our Facebook page. And I'll definitely be trying to take that a little bit further. Outside of that, do the usual shit. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of that stuff on the YouTubes. And also make sure you like and follow me on Facebook so that you can be notified of upcoming episodes. And we also have a little bit of a dialogue on there about some of the stuff that we will be discussing in future episodes. So yeah, With that said, have a great afternoon, and yeah, thanks for tuning in.